Hello, Craig.
Hello, Colin.
We are not talking about Star Trek this week, but instead we're going to be talking about something that's Star Trek adjacent, as the kids say. We're going to be talking about Galaxy Quest, which I believe is a movie, Craig, that you recommended to me to watch when I started watching some TNG.
Yes, because Dana recommended to me when we started watching Star Trek, saying it's a great Star Trek adjacent movie, and he was right.
Ironically, it's a better Star Trek movie or Star Trek thing than what we get nowadays. Also, I heard we'll get right into the movie, but I also heard that the second and third season of The Orville is more Star Trek than recent Star Trek, so whether that's true or not, I don't know, but that's what I heard, and that seems to be the trend these days. But let's talk about Galaxy Quest, which came out in 1999, and this is the first time I've ever seen it. I watched it a couple of days ago, and I thought it was great. It's a really great love letter to Star Trek, and even to the nerd culture, the fan culture.
Yeah, especially the fans stand up having a role at the end of the day. It pokes fun at stuff from the original series. It even touches upon the sad life a lot of these actors lived after the original series ended.
Yeah, it really did. It was really sad. Fun fact, I saw the scene where Nesmith, Tim Allen, he plays the William Shatner-esque character, when he goes into that bathroom stall and he hears everyone kind of calling him a loser. Apparently that was a real-life experience that William Shatner experienced.
It's kind of sad.
Yeah.
Like, if it's loser, why do you show up to these conventions? You show up because you like the guy, right?
I mean, they get paid to go to those conventions.
Yes, but if you're paying also as a patron to go, why would you be calling William Shatner to his face a loser? Could you pick on Sulu instead?
That's my captain. I would never.
I would say it's Sulu's face, but not.
Maybe I'd say that's Michael Burnham, but not Kirk.
I have too much respect for Captain Kirk.
But the whole cast is great. Tim Allen perfectly nails that Shatner-esque role where he's so cocky and full of himself. They even had arrogance. A thing. Yeah. There's something that William Shatner was talking about the movie because on the Wikipedia page it said that all these Star Trek actors were raving about it, and Bill Shatner, obviously he was saying this sarcastically, but he was saying, I don't know who he is parodying, he obviously knows it's targeting him, but...
Yes, but it's funny because when you look online, people don't understand that he's being sarcastic and take what he's saying at face value and call him stupid and
Shatner,
which yes, he's got a little bit of an ego.
Yeah, he's a lot of things, but he's definitely not an idiot, and he's definitely very sarcastic.
Yeah, he's aware enough to realize they're poking fun at him.
Yeah, but Tim Allen did a great job. The whole cast was great. Even Alec Rickman, the late Alec Rickman, where he played, oh god, what was that character's name? I just
Dr. Lazarus.
He played Dr. Lazarus, and he had that stupid makeup on, and all the fans made him try to say his catchphrase.
Even the aliens kept asking him to say it.
Yeah.
Grab Thar's hammer, Dr. Lazarus.
Don't do that. I'm not kidding.
I'm sorry, sir. I was only
Just don't.
Is that so? Yeah, that's how Leonard Nimoy felt, right? Didn't you say that he wrote a book saying I'm not Spock, and he's more than an actor than just being known as Spock?
Yes, but then after the movies, I think he wrote that between the motion picture and when the show ended. So he wrote that book because he was tired of being associated with it. But then after a while, he realized, I guess I'm okay with it. Because he wrote, I am Spock.
Yeah. Sigourney Weaver. Oh, sorry, you go.
Also, I love the line when they're at that opening for is it a bank? And he goes by grab Thar's hammer.
Oh god, yeah.
And he's just like really trying to like power through. He goes, "What a savings!"
By grab Thar's hammer. What a savings.
I was going to say, I like Sigourney Weaver's character, where she's obviously the Uhura, because she says, I have one job on this show, and that is to repeat the computer.
Look, I have one job on this lousy ship. It's stupid, but I'm going to do it, okay?
I mean, that's essentially what Uhura did. She would just look at a screen and just say to Kirk whatever Starfleet was saying. She didn't really do a whole lot.
True, but her never felt all that bad. This one was definitely more in your face, where you can hear the computer talking and she's relaying it back to the person.
Yeah, it's a very good satire, and they nailed all the elements properly, where it didn't feel insulting. It's a satire. Because there's a difference between satirizing something and then just being mean-spirited and making fun of it.
And this doesn't just go after the original series. It also goes after a bit of TNG, because they had the kid pilot.
Yeah, the Wesley Crusher, the kid genius.
Yeah, the kid no one liked.
Except we didn't really get that from this movie. They had obviously the kid when the show was on, which I forget what the time frame was. I think 17 years or something.
Yeah, that was like 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
See,
That-
he's a grown up, but then he said the chief engineer. I don't remember his name, but he seemed to be completely
Was it-
almost unaware of what was going on.
That Fred, right? Wasn't his name Fred?
Yeah.
He was honestly, he might have been one of my favorite characters because he was just going along with everything.
That was a hell of a thing.
Yeah, sure, whatever, we're in space.
He just didn't care.
Like when they're landing the ship to go onto that desert planet, because of course a desert planet, and he's just eating nonchalantly.
And I think I told you this. Maybe it was when we're talking about Star Trek V. There was, I think, Bill Shatner wanted to run against or run away from a giant rock monster. So this movie actually brought that to life, where Tim Allen runs away from that giant rock creature.
I just love that they're on a desert planet because of all those episodes filmed in California, so of course they're on a desert planet.
Yeah, and his shirt gets ripped off. And then they make a comment saying, "Oh, what did Alan Rickman say?"
It was something to the fact that your shirt got ripped off again.
Yeah,
Oh,
always
you're
wants the
shirtless.
attention. Yeah.
So you managed to get your shirt off.
God, there's always those little moments too. Oh, I love it. And then they had the guy whose name is Guy. He was a crewman who got killed off in one of the episodes, and he kept
Yeah,
making
Sam Rockwell.
remarks. Of how he's gonna get killed because he's just a nameless crewman. He goes, "Do I even have a last name? No, because I'm gonna get killed."
I was not expecting, because again, this is my first time watching it. I was not expecting the fans to help out at the end, because obviously they set up that when he bumped into them, when Tim Allen comes back from the alien ship, that he drops his communicator and it gets swapped. That was really neat how they're such big fans that they know everything about the ship and all the layouts. I thought that was really neat because, again, if this was made today, they would be making fun of the fans, calling them pathetic man babies or whatever. But they didn't do
Yeah.
that in this.
Well, it also helped that the people who were fans were kids, where you can kind of get away with them being a little nerdy, a little too into the show. This is a 35-year-old man in his basement. It'd be much more depressing.
Yeah, I know, but it shows that the fans are smart, they're passionate, and in this case, they're relevant to the story.
Yeah, and help save the day.
Yeah, I thought that was really neat because, again, it'd be low-hanging fruit today where they just make fun of them and call them losers. Oh, you like Star Trek? Loser.
Yeah, they would actually stop the movie and have a little mini PSA saying people who watch this are losers. Now, then they'll complain about no one watches their stuff, but that's a little
Yeah.
after the movie comes out.
So this is a glaze fest so far, Craig. Is there anything that you didn't like?
It's hard to say because this is definitely more of a comedic movie, and I don't take comedic movies as seriously, but I think the flaws
Yeah, you don't weigh
are
them the same.
yeah, because the whole point is to kind of make you laugh, and especially if you watch Star Trek, you'll get more of the jokes and the little deep references and poking fun, but also being sincere. So it's not as bad. Like, sure, maybe the villain is just a stock bad guy, but I don't think it really matters because he's not really that important. It's more about the crew
Yeah.
actually living up to their characters.
It's such a great scene when what's his name? The kid genius? God, I should know better.
It was Tommy, right? Tommy, I
Was it Tommy?
think so.
He has to drive the ship. And he's like, I don't know how to do that. He scratches the whole side of it when they're trying to leave the station.
It also got a chuckle at me when they're all trying to figure out a plan how to save the ship.
Yeah, Tommy. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're all going off, oh, we'll go to the core of the ship, we'll do this, we'll free the crew, we'll do that. It's like, Tommy, you figure how to drive this thing because we have to get away out of here. And it cuts all the action shots and just him like watching himself how to fly.
Well,
It probably was supposed to be that
yeah.
funny, but I was just laughing 'cause that's so stupid.
Well, because that is how the actors do. They just, especially in TNG, they have that touchscreen kind of thing where they're just aimlessly pressing away. At least TOS, they had the knobs and the sliders.
Yeah, but TNG and Deep Space Nine and Voyager, they just have the constant button panel, which is kind of hard to visualize what you're doing.
Yeah, they're just pressing buttons.
Something you did not like, Colin?
Well, kind of like you, I don't really have any issues with it. Of course, the villain isn't great, but that's not really the point.
I know you haven't seen Enterprise, and they keep referencing the show a lot lately. I don't know
You
why,
have.
but he kind of looks like the Xindi reptilian. Not one-to-one, but it kind of reminded me of the reptilian. I think it's just a coincidence, but it was a kind of funny coincidence.
I did like the scene, though, where Saris, the main antagonist, who's this giant reptilian creature, he makes Tim Allen kind of confess to the aliens that base their civilization off of the historical tapes, they call it, of Galaxy Quest. And Tim Allen kind of has to, very, in a crushing manner, explain to him that he's a liar, he's just an actor, none of it's real. And he explains that the size of the ship, and he references his fingers, is like this big. I don't know, I imagine someone explaining something to a kid and they're devastated by it. You know what I
Even
mean?
that scene, he kept saying, "Explain it to them.
Yeah.
Explain it to them like they're 5. Explain it to them like they're 3."
They really don't know?
Oh, it's so great. Yeah, I know what you're saying, but also they have that comedic part to it where it's almost mean to say they're stupid. They're really naive. They believe
Yeah.
everything at face value.
Yeah.
I understand it was crushing, but then obviously they get saved and they still get to believe in their heroes, fortunately.
Yeah. Again, if this was made nowadays, the heroes that they idolize become losers, and then they turn their back on their friends.
Yeah, they all backstab each
Then
other.
They hang out. They leave their family and hang out with their Sasquatch friend, and revert back to their degenerate ways.
I know this is a memed on scene, not a memed on. I know this is a highly referenced scene, but I still think it was great where when they land on the planet, they just wonton, like they just open the door to the desert planet, and guys like, "Do you know if there's air out there?" Like, there's no scientific work. They're just dumb actors who don't know anything, so they're just okay. Well, it did this on the show, so it must work for us.
Yeah. I also like the part where it's clearly Sigourney Weaver drops an F-bomb.
Well, screw that. Well, screw that.
Because there's behind the scenes where originally it's supposed to be more, I don't want to use the word edgier, I hate using the word edgy, but it was supposed to be more adult orientated, let's say. And then they're going through the ship to get to, what was it, the blue matter? What do they call it?
Is that the beryllium sphere?
Well, it's the thing that could take you back 13 seconds, which they set up and it pays off.
Yeah.
And it's just this corridor of just things just smashing each other. And then she says, like, what purpose does this have in the ship?
Yeah, and they said, well, they recreated every single episode. That was in one of the episodes.
Yes, that was a poorly written episode.
I'm not doing it. This episode was badly written.
I also like the scene. Oh, by the way, too, for 1999, the visual effects look really good.
And I think it helped that they didn't waste a ton of CGI in the main villain. They actually had a practical suit.
Yeah. Well, I was specifically referencing those creatures when they're trying to get the beryllium sphere when they're on the planet, and they're observing them from a distance, and then they just see a hurt one, and they just kill the hurt one.
It's such a great movie.
Yeah, this is a great love letter.
So I've seen people try to rank this as where does it rank among Star Trek movies? I don't think it's really fair because it's poking fun at Star Trek movies and the franchise as a whole. So it's not really fair because those are more serious, non-comedic movies. This is obviously meant to be a little more poking fun at. So I don't think it's really fair to say, well, this is the best Star Trek movie. Well, it's not really trying to be.
But like I said, though, it ironically is more sci-fi and more Star Trek-like than the more recent things.
It's funny because the way these writers write Star Trek, it's like they're the actors. They know nothing about sci-fi. They're just trying to go along with whatever they had for them, what was laid out before them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I open the door to the planet. I don't care if there's air.
What else you like, Craig, or what else bothered you?
There's obviously a movie about the cast, and you could say in a more cynical movie, the cast really wouldn't be changed by their experiences, but it's kind of nice that they had an ending. You saw that the Captain Kirk stand-in became a little more had a better relationship with the other castmates. He wasn't as egotistical. So even at the end of the movie, too, they get a sequel show. The journey continues.
Yeah, and they bring back that one alien known as, they call her Jane Doe. They bring back Guy, who has a role on the show.
Security chief guy, or whatever they called him.
Yeah.
So even that stuff is nice too. Even though it's poking fun, it still tries to be sincere at the end.
It's respectful too. Again, that's the biggest difference, is that it's respecting what it's poking fun at.
Yeah, it's like they're not going to go back to Earth and a bunch of losers or die in the process and get everyone killed. Like, oh, sorry guys, we're dumb.
It was crazy though at the end when they separate from the aliens, the good aliens, and they just crash land to the convention.
I know, no one thinks twice about it. Like, oh, let's see some special effects or something.
Yeah, that was a little wild. But it's a nice comedy movie. You can let that stuff slide.
And we didn't talk much about the aliens themselves, the Thermians.
Yeah, they were good.
Even when they talk, it's so weird, but They definitely sell an alien pretty well.
And they all walk kind of weird too. They walk like penguins, but their knees are bent and they have their hands by their knees.
Yeah, they always have this giant smile on their face looking
Yeah.
at you.
They're like making that noise. I don't want to imitate it because I probably do a really bad job.
But it's funny because I think they put a lot of effort into these aliens more so than any Kurtzman aliens or new aliens they introduced. Because at the end of the day, most aliens are just humans with different prosthetics on their face. These definitely felt like aliens. They're not something human.
Yeah. I like the design of Saris and his reptilian army. They all look pretty cool.
Yeah, the Zindi.
Is that what the Zindi look like from Enterprise?
There's actually 5 versions of a Zindi. I was thinking specifically the reptilian Zindi. It's not 1-to-1, but it does look similar.
There's 5 Zindi?
Yeah.
I did not know that. And that's all from Enterprise?
Yep.
Oh. Well, I gotta finish TNG, Craig, before I can even watch Enterprise.
Well, it takes place before TOS. You should have watched it first.
Well, I started with TOS first, and that's what got me into everything.
Yeah.
What else, Craig? What else you got for me?
I know you mentioned before that it's supposed to be rated R. I can't imagine releasing this as a rated R movie.
Yeah, it's
Because-
like... Yeah, you go. I'm sorry.
No, but probably along the lines of what you're going to say, that people seem to be obsessed with an R rating because if it has the letter R on the movie, it becomes more adult and it somehow enhances the movie. I don't know what an R rating would do to enhance the movie. Like a couple of F-bombs would really make the movie better. Maybe for a joke here, like one joke, but I don't think any violence or gore or explicitives would make the movie better.
Well, I was going to say, remember when we talked about Scooby-Doo almost 2 years ago? The live action ones? The first one was supposed to be either rated R or PG-13 and it had a lot of risque jokes. But then
Yeah.
they scaled it back to PG. And I think, like, Star Trek back then, before the Kurtzman era, wasn't this dark, depressing, profanity-laced, violent, whatever it is now, like Picard. It was nothing like that. So it being more kid-friendly was kind of like Star Trek.
Because Star Trek, yeah, it's on cable TV. It can't be rated R or on
Yeah.
HBO or whatever channels would be able to host that kind of stuff. It was
Yeah.
meant more for general audiences, families, kids. That can include adults as well. And this movie fits that. It's not just for the adults who'd get more of the jokes. It's for everybody.
Yeah.
But for some reason, that's always seen as a bad thing. People always think more people watching a movie or general audience is inherently a bad thing. This is matching the same audience as the Star Trek shows.
Yeah, if
I
you're
feel like I'm saying something so obvious, but
if you're respectfully poking fun at your source material, you think fans of the source material would want to see it. And unless I'm unaware, I imagine Star Trek is more in the family-friendly kind of, at least back then, maybe. I mean,
Yes,
I
back
could
then.
be wrong. And again, I think what my biggest takeaway was that they didn't make fun of the fans. And again, we're going to sound like a broken record, but that's so important these days because studios and even directors, screenwriters are so cynical where they hate the fans for being passionate. And don't get me wrong, a lot of them are overly passionate and a lot of them bully actors. Don't do that. But they don't make fun of your target audience in a bad way. You could poke fun at them, but don't be demeaning. I don't know. I feel like I'm saying very obvious surface level things, but people still do it these days.
yeah, every time a movie doesn't do well, they'll say, "Oh, well,
They'll
it's
blame
our
the fans. Yeah.
Yeah, well, why don't you make a movie that people want to see? At the end of the day, that's what you're supposed to do. You aren't owed an audience. You're supposed to convince them to watch it.
But yeah, I like that. Respect the fans. They actually save the day at the end because they're passionate, they care, and they're invested.
I agree.
Well, I think the premise is great, where this alien culture bases everything off of a TV show they call historical tapes. And then they're reliving the show in real life. That's a great premise.
Yeah, one for in every little detail they recreated.
Yeah, even
Even
the
though-
bad stuff of the episodes, like Sigourney Weaver making fun of that corridor.
So it's just nice to, even though these are just a bunch of actors, they at least have the heart to help these aliens.
Yeah.
A more cynical person would be like, well, screw you, you're on your own. You can see that they really want, especially the captain, Nesmith, our commander, he really wants to not be a loser like the fans making fun of him. He wants to actually do something useful like his character.
What was his catchphrase?
Never give up. Never surrender.
Yeah. He nailed no one can have the speech pattern of Shatner, but he nailed that kind of almost Riz of Kirk.
Well, the Riz and also the arrogance. Obviously, people talk about Captain Kirk or the actor William Shatner, who
Yeah.
I think just had his 95th birthday.
Yeah, did you see that photo where he's chomping on a cigar celebrating his 95th birthday?
It's always hilarious when these people live to be 100 and what they do. Yeah, I smoke cigars every day, I ate
Yeah.
pine cones, but I live to be 100.
Yeah, Shatner looks great for 95. God bless him.
But he could at least portray the same kind of arrogance that people said Captain Kirk had behind the scenes.
Yeah, which is true. Shatner did have that kind of ego.
He was late to the first show by like 90 minutes, they said. He's like, yeah, whatever, who cares?
Yeah.
But even though we were talking about how great this movie was,
Mhm.
apparently there were plans to make a sequel or a TV show. and
Yes,
I think that was missing
did
the
read
point.
about that. Well, obviously, I haven't read up about. I don't remember honestly what the sequel plans were, but I'm assuming they all were before Alec Rickman, or I keep saying Alan Rickman passed away, so they can't really do it.
Well, I think a lot of those plans ended when he passed away, but I don't agree with the idea of even making a sequel.
No.
I mean, what are you going to do for a sequel? You can't take it seriously. No one really cares about them being actors on a TV show. It was more about parodying the original TOS and even some of the
Yeah.
TNG actors.
Parroting the actors, the fans, the culture.
The sci-fi.
Yeah.
So I don't know what a sequel really could have done that would enhance this. It would have been just another sequel that people make for the sake of it and probably forget about.
Yeah, it's good to leave well enough alone, honestly. You don't have to imagine a Galaxy Quest Legacy sequel, that has Justin Long's character as the main character. You know how
I think-
gross that would be?
Yeah, I think in this day where people are obsessed with sequels and franchises, they can't just let a good one movie lie. Can't let Sleeping Dogs lie. They always have to try to make a sequel, keep reviving franchises that they can never truly end. And something like this, it's a great one movie, no sequel, and there's nothing to tarnish it because you can't ever talk about it in the same sense of, oh, well, only watch the first one because the second one was terrible. It's the cash grab.
It has a great legacy too. There's no reason to tarnish it.
It's almost synonymous with Star Trek because of how much it pokes fun at the franchise, and
Yeah.
everyone loves it. The actors, the fans love it.
Yeah. You don't need a stupid reboot, sequel.
How would you do a reboot sequel? Like, no one wants to make fun of the Kurtzman Star Trek because watching it itself is the joke.
Yeah.
We barely got through, not barely, but we got through Strange New Worlds,
season.
and that was supposed to be the best of it. I can't imagine the worst of it.
No, we're
Like
not.
watching Starfleet Academy.
No. Which, by the way, got canceled after 2 seasons.
Shocker.
And it's only 2 seasons because they already filmed season 2 before season 1 came out entirely. So,
Which is smart because everyone complains about how TV shows take forever to come out, so filming ahead of time is usually what TV shows used to do. But
well, before we wrap it up, I will say that it's smart, but it's also incredibly dumb because a competent showrunner would listen to the criticism of what the fans don't like. But Alex Kurtzman digs his heels in. He clearly doesn't care about what the fans want or say, and he does whatever he wants anyway. So it wouldn't have even mattered anyway if there was there's a gap between season 1 and 2. So then they could fix the problems or overhaul it to accommodate fan backlash. But yeah, they don't care.
well, they've proven since 2009 they care very little about what the fans want.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're coming up on the 20 years of them ruining Star Trek. You happy?
No, not at all.
You think
Well,
with
hopefully Alex Kurtzman's deal expires at Paramount and that bad man can just go away.
we'll never have to see him ever again.
One
Or they
can
don't
hope.
pick, they'll pray another franchise that we love and ruin that as well.
And there's not much left for me in terms of franchises.
I mean, you never know. He could worm his way into Godzilla.
I don't think they would ever hire him.
Could you imagine? He's the next director of Godzilla
The-
or +1.
No, they would make him head of TV for Monarch.
Yeah, but Monarch's terrible.
Yeah. Well, there's a season 2, Craig, that's coming out right now, so we'll do an episode of that when that's all done. But Craig, we
You want
got
to torture me?
we got off topic. Do you have anything else to say about the great Galaxy Quest?
It's such a. I didn't think we did enough justice because going through Blood, we would just be talking about all the scenes and why it was hilarious. But it really is a good movie. It is funny, especially it can stand on its own. But I don't think you'll ever appreciate it if you don't watch Star Trek.
Yeah.
It works, but this is definitely more of a Star Trek movie.
Yes. And it does help seeing the Star Trek shows to get the references and even the character dynamics.
And the actor dynamics, how the actors
Yes.
lived behind the scenes, basically
Yeah.
living off of convention appearances.
Yeah.
Kind of the sad part, but at least it's not as depressing.
Yeah. I would recommend Galaxy Quest. It's a nice love letter to Star Trek, a nice love letter to the fans of Star Trek, and it holds well as a comedy too.
Yeah, I can't ever see this going out of style.
Yeah, it's great. I would recommend it. Would you?
Of course.
Okay, you didn't say it. Well, Craig.
Well, we've been glazing it. Go ahead and glaze a movie and say don't watch it.
Yeah.
Come on, you can't watch it.
Don't watch it. No, watch it. It's great. Well, Craig, with all that being said, I don't know what our next episode's going to be, but at least we cover Galaxy Quest. We cover a lot of Star Trek. I still got to finish Star Trek TNG, and then maybe we could do a top 5 best episodes of TNG, or even TOS. So who knows? But we can have a lot of fun ideas with more Star Trek stuff, old Star Trek stuff. But
no, when you say Star Trek, people know you're referring to the pre-Kurtzman, pre-J.J. Abrams era. That's not really Star Trek.
Oh. But Craig, with all that being said, this has been the Unbiased Opinion, where everyone's opinion is biased except ours. I'm Colin.
I'm Craig.
And we will see you next time.